So today the topic under discussion is Cushing syndrome. So as we even saw in our case study that a female got up to a physician clinic and she basically complained of the cessation of menses after she stopped nursing her baby. Now, this was the prime complaint, or this was the presenting complaint of the patient. Focusing on the presenting complaint is very important because before we get into the detailed history of the presenting complaint, it is again very important that you start taking the menstrual history from the patient right from the start. It can be the menarche, when was it reached, what was the flow period, and for how many days she got her flow, and what was, whether the periods were regular or irregular basically or not. So this basically adds to the period history, and this basically enhances the clinical situation. Now again, the associated symptoms are very important over here. Whether the patient is also suffering from hirsutism or not, that is the appearance of the facial hair. Then obesity is one of the features that we have to focus on. It's not always present in the patients with Cushing syndrome, but we have to look for the associated features whenever we have these patients. So basically, when you get these patients, what would be the typical history? Not all of these set of signs and symptoms are always present in the patient. It can be either a set of 2 symptoms or it can be a set of 3 symptoms that are associated in this particular picture, and we have to basically diagnose whether the patient is suffering from Cushing's syndrome or not. Now, how do you define Cushing syndrome? It's basically when the circulating glucocorticoids are in excess in a patient. That is basically clinically having signs and symptoms in the patient. Then we say that the patient is suffering from Cushing syndrome. We have another variety of Cushing syndrome, which is basically an asymptomatic variety, whether in that case, we have the excess glucocorticoids circulating, but these patients are asymptomatic. They do not have any other signs and symptoms associated, and the diagnosis is usually accidental in these cases. So it's sometimes very tricky when you get these patients, and sometimes when they are being tested for some other pathology, you accidentally diagnose that these patients have an excess glucocorticoids that they have, because there are associated symptoms of hypertension. Then we have the glucose tolerance tests that are deteriorated in these patients. So when you are investigating these patients and these baselines, we have a deteriorated glucose tolerance test in a patient, and you're investigating that particular patient, you sometimes accidentally find out that this patient has excess amounts of glucocorticoids circulating in the blood. So these can be the 2 typical cases that we have. Before we get into the details of Cushing syndrome, the clinical manifestations, and how do you basically diagnose these patients who are suffering from Cushing syndrome, it's again very important to get to know a basic glimpse of the anatomy, as well as how these hormones have particular effects, what are the group of hormones that we're dealing in with in these patients of Cushing's syndrome. So just to have a basic overview, we have the adrenal gland, and we have an axis. Basically, this adrenal gland is being controlled by the pituitary. So we have the secretion of ACTH from the pituitary gland, and that in turn basically controls the secretion of the adrenal gland. In the adrenal gland, we have a cortical region, and then we have a medullary region. So these are the 2 zones that we have, and they have their separate physiological importances. First of all, we have the cortical region, and that is responsible for the secretion of glucocorticoids mainly. Then we have the mineralocorticoids, and finally we have the androgens that are secreted by the adrenal cortex. So these are the 3 mainstream hormonal groups that we are dealing with. First of all, the glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, androgens. Androgens, of course, they get activated when in the periphery they are converted into testosterone and dihydrotestosterone. So these are the activated forms of the androgens, and that are only activated in the periphery under the action of certain enzymes. So this is the group that is secreted by the cortical region. On the other hand, we have the medullary region, which is responsible for the secretion of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Now, cortisol is one of the glucocorticoids that is secreted, and it's also known as an emergency hormone that is secreted under the stress. Whenever the hypothalamus is induced by stress, or there is a typical circadian rhythm that is seen basically influencing the hypothalamus, and that in turn is influencing the anterior pituitary gland, which is responsible for the secretion of the ACTH hormone, that is the adrenocortical releasing hormone, and which in turn basically is affecting the secretion of the cortical hormones from the adrenal gland. And mainly, whenever there is going to be a rise in the cortisol releasing hormone, that is going to basically increase the levels of the cortisol in the blood. So the circadian rhythm is basically a word in which we use a lot of hormones are basically following this circadian rhythm. Whenever we use this terminology of circadian rhythm, we're basically emphasizing on the fact that this particular hormone is under the control when the person sleeps, and when he wakes up, there are certain levels that are achieved in the blood. So this is basically these hormones, particularly who are being influenced by the circadian rhythm, their levels are going to go up and down during the 24-hour period time in an individual. Even the diagnostic tests that we perform, we usually take a 24-hour cortisol levels that are being taken or that are being recorded for an individual, because that is very essential. A random test whenever we take an individual is not sufficient to diagnose whether a patient is suffering from Cushing's or not. Even patients with Cushing syndrome may show normal levels of cortisol levels at certain period of the day due to the circadian rhythm that is present. So this is these are the key points that you have to keep in mind whenever you are dealing with these patients of Cushing's syndrome. Again, there are cyclical changes. We have a phenomena of pseudo-Cushing's syndrome, in which we have raised levels of the Cushing's disease, which are due to some stress that the patient has been induced to. And it can be any kind of environmental stress. It can be a form of a physical stress, as well as it can be psychological stress, that the patients are enforced into these particular situations, and they show these symptoms of Cushing's syndrome. So again, whenever you have these patients, it's very important to take a detailed history from the patient. Right on, starting from the presenting complaint, you take the history of this particular presenting complaint, you focus on the associated features, whether they are present or not in this particular patient or not, and then you move on with the general physical examination. You have a typically different picture when you have female patients and when you have male patients. For instance, we saw that in the case study, the patient was suffering from the cessation of menses particularly. But whenever we'll get the male patients, they're going to suffer from the loss of libido, erectile dysfunctions. These would be the typical reproductive histories that were associated with Cushing's syndrome. So it's very important that you focus whether you have a male patient or a female patient, and then you have this particular set of symptoms. Buffalo hump, moon-faced features, these are again very indicative of the fact that this particular patient, whenever even you inspect a particular patient, they would have this typical picture clinically, and sometimes very easy to identify that this particular patient is suffering from Cushing's disease. So after a general physical examination, you would move on to the systemic examination. And again, that is going to reveal a lot of factors. And obviously, the definitive diagnosis is going to be revealed only when you have the labs in your hand. So this is how you basically go about in a patient of Cushing's syndrome. Usually, these patients can have atypical features such as short-term memory loss. A red round face, which is also known as a moon face, is again one of the very typical features of Cushing's syndrome and is very indicative in a lot of patients. Then we have patients with hyperglycemia. Weight gain or obesity is one of the key feature that is also noted down in these patients. Then we have the increased adrenaline release in the adrenal gland. So this is the mainstay, or this is the basic pathology that the patient is suffering from. And then we have the thin skin, which is basically causing the stretch marks in these patients. So thinning of the skin and all of these collective influence of all of these sets of signs and symptoms makes it very easier just to get suspicious of the fact that this particular patient is suffering from Cushing's syndrome, and then obviously we can move on with further investigations in this particular case.